In this video, we're going to take a look at using constraints in Inventor. There are two different types of constraints in Inventor. The first is geometric constraint. Geometric constraints are created automatically between lines, arc, and other geometry when you make a sketch. They can also be manually applied after the sketch is done in order to stabilize the shape or the position of the sketch. These geometric constraints allow the sketch to be edited with predictable results. For example, dragging the endpoint of a line that's constrained to be perpendicular to another line does not change the perpendicularity. There's also dimensional constraints or parametric dimensions. It's a type of sketch constraint controlled to control the size and position of the geometry. The dimensions are automatically created when you enter values in the input boxes as you create geometry, or manually using the general dimensions command. Dimension values can be expressed as numeric constraints, or numeric constants I should say, as variables in the equation or in parameter files. Edit the dimension to change the size of the associated geometry. You can edit sketch dimensions before or after the sketch becomes part of a feature. We have 12 different geometric constraints. We have perpendicular, horizontal, tangent, collinear, symmetric, coincident, parallel, vertical, smooth, concentric, equal, and fix. And we're going to be taking a look at all of those. So what I'd like you to do is go into Inventor, open up a blank inch template, and we're going to start a new sketch, and we're going to start it on the XY plane. Okay, we're just going to go up to a line, and I'm going to create a line here, and I'm going to drag it now as I move closer and closer to 0. Once I hit 0, you'll see there that there is a little icon. That icon means that it is horizontal. Okay, you'll see it says 0 degrees, and that little icon tells us that it is horizontal. Okay, if I click on it, you'll see that now when I drag that up, I have the horizontal constraint shown, and I also have a 90-degree perpendicular constraint being created. I'm going to drag down a little bit. I'm going to drag it up. Okay, and again I'm leaving it at 90 degrees, and you'll see that there's a perpendicular icon there. I'm going to click on it. Okay, again you'll see that I have a perpendicular icon over here. I'm going to drag it this way. I'm going to line it up with this guy. Get a nice straight line. There's my perpendicular. Come down here. Okay, and there I have my view. Down the bottom here, the second icon from the left shows all constraints. So I click on that, you'll see that these are the constraints. These are perpendicular. No matter what I do, if I drag this, okay, I can't drag that endpoint because that would change my perpendicularity. I can change the size of the rectangle, and that is controlled by the dimension. So if I make this 0.5, then put a dimension here, and I'll make this 1. Okay, now I can't, I can't change that. If I try to change any of those lines, all I do is move the whole shape. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to delete this. I'm just going to start here, make a window, grab everything, hit my delete key, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle that I know is not correct. Just like that. Okay, using my constraints up here, I can make it into a rectangle just like we had. So if I go here first and I pick the horizontal constraint and I pick this one and that one, notice now both of those lines become horizontal. If I take and make this one vertical and this one vertical. Now if I try to put a perpendicular here to here, I'm going to get an error message. And it says adding this constraint will over constrain the sketch. That means that if this one is horizontal and this one is vertical, then it automatically is perpendicular. Now still, like before, I'm going to hit escape. I can take and I can change the height and the width. Again, I would fix that going here, make that 0.5. Make that 1. Okay, and there I have my constrained rectangle. Again, now if I try to move anything, hit escape, it just moves the entire piece. And we can constrain that as well. Okay, to take a closer look at the constraints, what we're going to do is going to open up a file. It is called constraints.ipt. It is on canvas underneath module 2, okay, or class 2. So I'm going to open that. So you will download it and open it. So I'm going to go here, and I was doing something different. So here is my constraints IPT. Okay. And all it is a bunch of circles and lines and rectangles and all that. Okay, I'm going to go here to where it says sketch. I'm going to right click and I'm going to pick edit sketch so that I'm back to where I started from. Okay, I'm going to go here first to the first one on the left, and I'm going to pick the coincident constraint. Okay, now the coincident constraint is up here. It is this one right here. So I'm going to pick coincident. Now if I move it along, I can make it from the end point of that line, okay, or the end point there, or I can just go to around where the center point or the midpoint is, and I can click there, and then I'm going to make that coincident with the center of this circle. Okay, so now you'll see that it jumps there, and it depends on which one you pick first and second to how it's going to move. Okay, the next one we have these lines here, and what we're going to look at is if we take again and go to coincident, and I take the end point of this line and put it where the end point of that line is. Okay, notice it jumps down, and now those lines are constraint there. You'll see that icon there is the constraint. Okay. I'm going to hit Control Z to get that back again, because I want to look now at the collinear. And what collinear does is it causes the lines to lie in the same plane. Okay, so I'm going to go here to collinear. I'm going to pick this line and that line. Okay, now they're collinear. They're actually on top of each other here. Circles, and we will take a look at the concentric. Okay, and what the concentric does is make these circles concentric with each other. So if I pick this circle and that circle, now you'll see that they are concentric, and we have our concentric icon here. The next one is the little lock there, and that is fix. I'm going to hit escape. Now I can take, for example, and I can drag this guy here and here and here and here. But what I can do is I can fix any of these points that I want. So I'm going to go up here to the lock, and I'm going to pick the lower left hand corner. Okay, now there's a lock there. Now I'm going to hit escape. Okay, I'll put show my constraints. Now if I try to move that line, okay, I can't move it. Okay, I can move this line, and this line, but I can't move that line there. Now anytime I want, I can take a constraint off just by highlighting it, right click, and pick delete. Once I do that, then the constraint will be gone. Next one I'm going to look at is, let me see, the next one is parallel and perpendicular. Okay, so if I grab these guys, got these two lines here. If I go up here to parallel, pick this one here, that one there. Now these lines are parallel to each other. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that. Now I'm going to pick perpendicular, and I pick this line and that line. Now they're perpendicular, even though that is not at the intersection. It moves it where the apparent intersection would be. So that is parallel and perpendicular. We've looked at horizontal and vertical before. Okay, this one already is horizontal. Again, if I wanted this one to be vertical, okay, I can just click it right there. Hit escape, so we're out of that command. Okay, and we go over here. Okay, we have a circle and a line. If I go here to this one right here, which is tangent, I can make this and the line tangent to each other. Now if I create another circle here, put it over here, I could, if I wanted to, make that line tangent, or that circle tangent to that circle. I could then also take, I think, and make this line tangent to that circle. The next one is this guy here, and it is the smooth command. Okay, and what the smooth command is going to take a line and a curve and smooth those out as best it can. Now if I pick this one here and that one there, okay, the curve that it creates looks something like that, and there you'll see the curve command. The next one we have here is symmetric, and I can make objects symmetric about a line or another object. So if I go here to symmetric and I pick this line, that line, and I say make them symmetric about that line, okay, now they are symmetrical about that line. Okay, if I take now and I move this line, okay, now since I told it to take that off, that won't work. But if I take this one here and move it here, but it's constrained and it won't let me. Oh, there we go. Okay, if I move that line, notice the line on the other end will always stay symmetric to that line. Okay, the last one we have here, I think, is equal, and that makes objects equal to each other. For example, if I have two circles here and I want them to be the same size, I can pick equal, make that one and that one equal. So it makes the first one I picked equal to the second one I picked. Alright, we have some tips here for working with sketch constraints. Stabilize the shape before the size. Apply the constraints before the dimensions. If you don't, okay, what's going to happen is the object is more likely to distort. Okay, it will not be in the correct shape when you add the dimensions to it. Use both geometric and constraints and dimensions. Some constraint combinations can distort under constrained portions of the sketch. If a distortion occurs, delete the last constraint placed and consider using a dimension or a different value. Sometimes it's very frustrating. You will make the constraint, and all of a sudden everything has changed. Okay, just relax and go back. When possible, use auto dimension. Use the dimensions command to add only dimensions you need, and then use the automatic dimensions and constraints command to calculate all other sketch dimensions and constraints. Okay, we didn't look at the auto dimension, but when we're creating a drawing or a sketch, there is next to the sketch button. Okay, let me find it over here. Right here that says automatic dimension and constraints. What that will do is it will automatically make all the dimensions and constraints that you need in order to have the part be fully constrained. Now I'm just going to go here, just make a standard part, just start with a sketch, and I'm just going to make just a sketch here, 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 and there. Okay, now we know that's a little messed up, and you'll see down the bottom here it says dimensions needed. That tells you how many dimensions you need before this sketch is fully constrained. If I go here to automatically constrain, see there are 9 dimensions required. Now I can use just dimensions or just constraint or both. And if I pick apply, okay, now the whole thing is fully constrained. It may not be exactly what we want, okay, so you might want to not do this sometimes, but there it gives you an idea of what that does. Okay, our last one, place dimensions are large elements before small ones. To minimize the distortion, first define large elements that tend to determine the sketch size. Dimensioning small elements first might restrict the overall size. Delete or undo a dimension if it distorts the shape of the sketch. Remember, this is not like you're dimensioning a drawing. You're dimensioning a solid object. Okay, that is it for constraints.